Alrighty, let's do some more viewer comments, questions, concerns, complaints. All right, this one's from Philip. This is great news. I don't know, it just feels so relaxing to hear this. A few months ago, phrases like sensations kill you would have terrified me. Now it's so obvious that there is only this direct, free contact without two sides contacting, just this. Still, I find my mind trying to hold on to inquiry words, etc., but I see the work still unfolding beautiful. Yeah, this is exactly it. It's once you recognize, experience, I don't know, fall into this directness, then when I say the sound just kills you, this sensation just kills you, it's not trying to be overly dramatic. It just means that the sense of the you that's always trying to construct an inner world to attenuate the experience of being alive, to dissociate, to pull back, to conject, to judge, to argue with life and yourself and other people and all of it. That whole thing is just unnecessary. So it's just full on experience, and it's really powerful. It's also very peaceful. It's also kind of sublime. So yeah, it's quite beautiful. And sometimes the words can sound so dramatic, but this isn't dramatic. It's just fully alive and full contact. It's without distance, without intermediary. Yeah. All right. Next question or comment. Do you suggest just confronting beliefs could lead to awakening? That's from Christina. Oh, I'm sure of it. I don't just suggest it. I've seen it many, many times. This comes from the video called An Idea is Like a Virus. This is a quote from the movie Inception. And absolutely. The key, though, is questioning fundamental beliefs, not just the belief like, I don't know, like assuming or not assuming necessarily, but looking at beliefs that you've kind of always taken to be true in the relative world about things like politics or, I don't know, kind of more abstract ideas, I guess I'm trying to say, and actually looking at and starting to question the really fundamental beliefs. Now, at first, it may feel hard to do this because why would you? Why would you question the fundamental belief that says, I'm sitting here monitoring my experience, for instance? You may not even realize that's a belief. You may not even realize you're doing that, right? So sometimes you have to start with the more superficial beliefs, I guess, to some degree, or start with something like self-inquiry, like who am I, right? To whom are these thoughts appearing and that kind of thing. But ultimately, what you do is you end up questioning the most fundamental beliefs. And what I find is when people start doing this, whether it's intuitively, sometimes they do it without any kind of pointing. They don't understand anything about spirituality or non-duality or awakening or any of it. And they just start doing this for whatever reason. And they start actually finding the shifting occurring, right? So it can happen completely uninitiated in any sort of spiritual context. But it can also happen when you've kind of quit messing around with spirituality and, I don't know, trying to find new ways to think about the world through a spiritual lens and realizing that's unsatisfying as well. And then based on that, you start to go, wait a minute, how can I question the most fundamental beliefs I have, right? What's really going on here? It's kind of like you kind of sense that someone's been cooking the books and you really want to get to the bottom of it. So it's like the gloves come off, you're kind of tired of more of the same, which is just rearranging thoughts and beliefs and judgments, endless judgments, and all the thought. And you're like, wait a minute, what's really going on underneath all of this? Those are the fundamental beliefs you can start questioning that really start shifting things. And can that lead to awakening? Absolutely, 100%. It did for me, and it has for many people I know. Great question. This one's from Nissiness. Hi, Angelo. Ironically, your pointing led me to the realization that you don't exist along with every other being in my life. Soon after seeing this, I noticed that everything is appearing within a bubble of consciousness around me, and there is nothing outside of the bubble. Wherever I walk, drive, or go, it's just this bubble of existence. Most of the suffering has fallen away in this place, and I've arrived here by continuing to rest in unbound awareness. Any pointing from here would be appreciated, though it feels like I'm sending this message to myself. For now, I would just rest in that experience. If you've had that shift in I would say identity, like you're taking yourself to be something, and then all of a sudden the experience of identity, the experience of self is very different, very open, wide open, awareness, like this kind of unbound awareness, unbound consciousness, then I usually tell people just rest in that. You'll start to sense when it's time to dig a little deeper. Often there's this beautiful honeymoon period where everything feels just like total flow, and there's really no questions, there's no concerns. Just enjoy that peace, because it's like, if you've been in the desert a long time, when you finally get to some water, it's nice to take big drinks of water for a while. So just relax, enjoy it. Now, if shadow material starts coming up, which it will at some point, and start doing that shadow work, that's the key, is don't ignore it. Don't try to reify something you've realized, like reifying awareness or consciousness, or fighting the process, or who knows what, trying to be like a spiritual teacher too early, or an authority, like all these ways that we co-opt this process instead of just letting it propagate. And the shadow material can be surprising. It can be intense, and there can be a lot of hidden stuff you didn't realize was there, but that's okay. There are plenty of resources. And when that comes, just be willing to do the work, be humble, and know that the experience of unbound awareness, unbound consciousness is real in and of itself. It may feel absolutely final. It may feel like what could be more real than this, but it will evolve in clarity as well. Yes, even that will evolve or devolve, or I would almost say regress into something even more fundamental, more simple. Yeah. Beautiful. This one says, Angelo, hello. Are the Archon mechanisms real? I have no idea I don't even know what that means. Sorry. Angelo, how does that tie in with physical discomfort due to illness or disease? It can be challenging to feel sensations because the overriding sensation is a result of illness, not emotional repression or feelings. For me, I would say same. In fact, with physical pain or illness, it's often easier. Although if you have a belief it's not, that may be challenging. But what I find is that it ends up being easier to surrender to something like illness or a physical symptom than emotional pain. The deep emotional pain, there's so much resistance to it. It can be daunting. So the experience itself, the sensation itself, is not problematic. It's the belief that it's a problem that is problematic. It's the resistance to it that makes it feel so problematic, that magnifies it incredibly. The resistance magnifies the pain. It magnifies the discomfort. It magnifies the dysphoria of it. So this is from a video, by the way, called Feeling Stuck, How to Release Trapped Emotions Quickly. I have a whole playlist called Emotion and Shadow Work about this kind of thing. But also I have a non-duality playlist, and there are many of the videos in there that talk about direct sensory experience, physical sensory experience, which is a good place to explore this. But really look at the difference between the sensation and the interpretation of the sensation and the beliefs about it, what it means to you, what the sensation means to you, right? If it's an illness, often we have ideas like, oh, this is ruining my life, or how long is this going to go on, or I can't handle this, or I'm missing out on things, or, right? These are interpretations. The sensation is the sensation. So I'm not saying to invalidate anything you're experiencing. And what I'm really saying is look really closely, notice the difference between the sensation and the interpretation. And you may find some pretty surprising revelations in that experience. Thank you for your comment. This is from Cartography Memoirs. When feeling deeply, is it necessary to acknowledge the story or belief embedded or attached to the feeling, or simply feeling enough? There will be a transitional time when you're going to be so intertwined with the narrative and story that you're going to have to do some work with it often, some inquiry, some acknowledgement of the story, acknowledgement of the narratives, noticing that you can resist that, right? You can resist thought and beliefs and memories. In fact, all resistance ultimately is at the level of thought. And I've explored this in other videos. But when we talk about very, very direct sensory experience, then there's no narrative there. There's no past, present, or future there. It's right here. It's just this. So simple, so direct, that there is no interpretation. So it is possible to experience that directly, and you will with time. And once a lot of shadow work has been done, so there's much less tendency to pull away, to run away, to avoid, to disengage. You can just really drop in. But before that time, a lot of that resistance will be clothed in narrative, story, getting essentially dissociated into thought, right? And that's okay too. But notice that. Notice the beliefs that are coming up. Notice the resistance to beliefs, the resistance to mental images, any resistance that's coming up to the narrative or story. Feel how sticky that world is when you start adding resistance to thought. It's helpful to notice this, that the world gets very sticky. It's like quicksand, that mental world. The sensory world isn't sticky at all. There's no sticking point. There's no one to stick. There's no one to pull on it. It's just what it is. It's very clear, very settled. Yeah. This one's from Realizing Rob. Angelo, longer comment. I'm excited to meet you in December. You said longer comment. I thought, do I want to read the whole comment? Let's see here. Question background. My initial shift, May 19th, dissolving duality video later. I have found all inquiry takes me to a place I have a tinnitus-like sensation in my ears. From there, letting go, opening up, or relaxing is possible, though the wording is misleading. Okay. With this opening, a second tinnitus-like sensation arises in my chest area. While I am with this energy, I feel very peaceful and responded to very difficult situations with ease. I feel like I'm walking underwater, or there's a slowness of movement. Okay. Question. Is this the aliveness feeling you talk about in the video? I would call it a self-validating sense of being completely alive, hence the details in extra. Extra. The sensation is what I seemed to correlate to when I cuddled with my dad by a fireplace, when I faced a fear like heights and climbing a 200-foot tower for work. I called the sensation home when I had a positive mindset, and fear when I had a negative mindset, but they appear to be the same sensation with a different kind of edginess. Okay. So what I'm saying, oh wow, many paragraphs. Okay. So here's what I'm sensing in this. I'm not going to read all of it, but here's what I'm sensing is it's kind of a mixture of things here. There's a direct experience clearly, and then there's a lot of analysis. Like, why do you need to know all these answers from me or from yourself even, right? Do you need, why have all the mapping and it's this and that and remembering what it came? It's only this right here. It's all it is. It's only right now, right? All the rest is thoughts, ultimately. This is my experience. So anything about, oh, well, is it like this? Because I used to have this experience, and then I had this one with this, and that felt intimate. And then these are all thoughts. So really it's about recognizing the distinction between direct experience, this immediate experience, which doesn't have any particular label, doesn't have any particular direction. It's not, there's no urgency to it. There's no dysphoria. It's not uncomfortable in any way. It's rather intimate, enjoyable, peaceful, but there's no content to it either. There's no narrative about it. It's not about something. Also, it doesn't compel any kind of management or analysis or mapping. That's not compelled by this. This is just here. It's just this. Very simple. Anything beyond that is going to be mental activity. And it's important to see that. It's important to make that very simple distinction between the mental activity that's, correlating data and remembering this and that and comparing and it's almost like trying to dial it in, like to some kind of perfectionistic ideal rather than just experiencing it. It's neither perfect nor imperfect, right? So that's what I sense. I sense a lot of sincerity. You took the time to write this, and I can tell you have significant insight. You've had a shift, but I think there's a bit of almost like a perfectionism sneaking in a little bit, right? Like really wanting to understand. It's like, just put it on the shelf for now, all that analysis, and just really drop into the experience. Let the experience mature. It's not an experience. Let the insight, the realization itself mature, but through direct experience. Let it mature over time. Give it time. You don't need to figure any of this stuff out right now. That's my sense. So thank you for your comment. All right. This one's from older ego nurse. Older ego nurse. Okay. I'm wrestling with beliefs that were seeded in me around my 5th birthday. I have so much of myself resting on it, and I can see how much it holds me back. Having all my friends strongly holding on to these beliefs doesn't make it any easier to release. Of course, I have friends with the same rigid belief structure. That's partly why I'm seeing fewer and fewer of them. It's been a tough 8 years. Yeah. I feel you. Like I said, thoughts are sticky when you grasp and cling to them and get entangled in them. But I will tell you, underneath all of it, if there's grasping of thoughts, clinging to thoughts, entanglement in thoughts, even though it seems like such a complex world, the world of thought is insanely complex, endlessly complex. It can make itself more complex on an ongoing basis, right? It feels like such a house of mirrors. But what I promise you is the underlying mechanism has nothing to do with complexity. It has to do with reactivity to thoughts. And that reactivity is based on perceived unmet needs. It's based on emotions that we've been avoiding, sensations we've been avoiding, and resistance patterns we haven't been seeing. And those are very directly accessible. These are direct experience kind of things. Emotion, directly experienceable, an emotion, right? A sensation, you can go right into that direct experience. Even resistance, you can feel directly. It can be intense, but you can feel it, right? None of those are really complex. They're simple, direct, and right here. But those, specifically the resistance, when applied to thoughts, pushing, pulling, all that, that's when thoughts seem to get so complex. We get identified with thoughts. We're pushing, pulling, believing. We're in all these worlds that are past, present, future. Very complicated place. Judgment, external, internal, pushing, pulling on the external world and other people, and just goes on and on and on. But if you really see that underneath all of that, there's just this kind of push and pull with thoughts. It's not the thoughts themselves or the complex stories they're telling. It's our kind of mechanistic relationship with them. And then it's much more manageable to see that. Thank you. This one's from Greg Ivanov. There was another great line in the film. This is talking about the movie Inception. Something along the lines of, you perceive and create the world simultaneously. Oh, that is so true. This is kind of what I was just saying with thoughts. It's like, it seems like almost the thoughts are like telling you a story that's predefined somehow by memories or something. But it's not so much like that. It's like by pushing and pulling on the thoughts, by having this reaction and relationship with thoughts, this desire and aversion, we actually kind of keep the story going. Like we keep the narrative building and twisting and changing, and we're subtly, even though it seems like we've had the same memory over and over, we're adding new meaning to the memory and new relationship and new challenges to letting go of that part of our life or whatever it is. It just goes on and on and on. It's like this multiplicity of perception. So it's rather true that we're creating and perceiving simultaneously. Yeah, that's a really good point. This one's from CSDL. It says, thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, you're very welcome. This is from Van Leen. As always, on point for me. Being sick with a fever. I pushed this away, but the video reminded me that I hated to be here, to be in the body. I hated it until I forgot about it when I was about in my mid-30s. Now, in my mid-40s, I'm reminded that I hate it. LOL. Yes, it's just another layer of resistance. And that's it. That's not just another layer. That's a pretty deep layer of resistance, which is good. So when you get really, really deep into this, deep stage realization stuff, and you're looking really closely at resistance patterns and deep shadow work, what you find, or what I think most people find, is there's actually an avoidance of being in the body. There's a fear, a psychological fear of being in the body, being stuck in the body, being trapped in the body, in a body with everything that comes with it, all the sensations. This is a very early perception. And then there's also this fear of losing domain. Actually, it's kind of the opposite, losing control. Those are kind of the two fundamental fears from what I see. But these are very, very deeply baked into our psyche. Yeah. Thanks for your comments. Okay, this one's from WH0586. There have been many times where unbound consciousness has been readily available to me. I realize that the need or want to get back to that place is the very thing obscuring freedom. And so I simply tell myself, stop. Stop creating a narrative and timeline, a self. And often things just dissolve into each other. I like that. However, this is often felt with my eyes closed, not meditating, but just in any given situation. As soon as I open my eyes, it's as if concepts gain power again. The difference there is between earlier realization and non-dual realization. With non-dual realization, it gets much more stabilized. It's much more stable because you see that unbound conscious experience that is the nature of the non-dual aspects of thought, which, by the way, many, many people think that's what non-duality is, because it seems like it. But when what we call the physical world is experienced as non-dualistic, then it's a much more stable realization because you realize that that non-dualistic experience in consciousness was a reflection in the first place, right? Of the non-dualistic nature of this, right? The scenery. When the scenery is non-dualistic, you're still there, right? Open your eyes or close your eyes, you're still there. When I say you are still there, I mean the non-dualistic insight is still there. Yeah? Does that make sense? So I know what you mean. With that said, I do recommend people still meditate, unbound consciousness type meditation, whether it's just closing your eyes or whether it's a technique, because it really does calm the mind. It's very good at like passive dissolving of resistance patterns and so forth. It's more slow, I think, than doing direct kind of shadow work, like deep shadow process and so forth. But it is very calming to the system. Anyone who's meditated for a week at a time knows it's very, very calming to the system, and it does settle dualistic constructs within consciousness. So I do recommend doing that, but the key to what you're talking about is non-duality, is the subject-object construct dropping away, the illusion of form and perception dropping away. Yeah. This is from Jennifer. The last couple of days, I've been feeling the intensity in my legs again while meditating. It feels like energy building and then releasing. I'm not going to lie. I don't like it. And I find a way to pull away from it. Maybe I can stay with it tonight. Thank you. You're welcome. So the thing I would say, though, is sometimes we set ourselves up to fight things we don't need to fight. I don't know, and this may not apply to you at all, actually, but it may. It could be, so if you're meditating in a certain time of day where you're actually getting tired and the body's like trying to rest, or it's not wanting to meditate, it would rather just lay down and sleep, or the energies are kind of stuck in the legs or in one part of the body or something like that through just the normal energetic cycles of the day. Sometimes it's better just to try meditating a different time of day. See if you're meditating when you're not very alert, meditate when you're more alert, or vice versa, meditate when you're more relaxed. So sometimes just mixing things up a little bit can settle a lot of this. But sometimes it does help to just sit through it and just feel that resistance, not react to it, not dissipate it, but not run away from it. Just sit through it and see. And sometimes on the other side of it, you find something, a pretty good release, or you find something you didn't realize was there. It's like some buried emotion or something. Yeah. But thanks for sharing. Energetic changes are a big part of this deal. This one's from Martin Quinlan. I like what Angel said about the natural movement of animals. I think because humans are so thought identified and believe in time and therefore imagined danger, we brace or tighten our bodies in a way that animals don't. I totally agree with that. 100%. Totally agree. Watch people walk around in grocery stores or in department stores or wherever you are. Just notice people walking around. Look at their face. Look how tight they look. Look how tight they feel. Just you can feel it. You can empathically feel it. Not everybody, but many people do. And it's exactly it. It's like driving with the brakes on, right? It's like kind of a baseline hesitation in life and a tension that we walk around with. That's psychological fear, right? It's not physiologic, it's psychological fear. It's memory based and learned for sure. Yeah. Yep. Great comment. It says we lock tension into our soft tissues and fascia, and it makes us move awkwardly and self-consciously. We move with our egos or something. Little kids are the same as animals as they move so well with such loose joints. They can have such awkward falls, but their bodies just naturally work it out in real time as it happens. They don't get stuck or brace unnecessarily. It's true. As children get older, they start to do it more, but it's definitely true, especially little ones. Yeah, beautiful. This is why so many somatic modalities, movement modalities can be valuable. If you're into like spontaneous movement, some kind of intuitive dance, intuitive movement, TRE is really good. Any kind of physical healing modalities like massage, deep tissue massage, fascial release, things like that may be valuable. And some people get a lot out of that. And I've interviewed people who had shifts in experience just doing these kinds of modalities. So things to explore. Everybody's a little different, but one of those kinds of things you may not even think about, and then all of a sudden you do it after awakening, and it's like, whoa, that changes a lot. I know someone who said stretching changed a ton for him. He said he never did it before, wasn't an exercise kind of guy, never did stretching. For some reason, he just started using an app and stretching, and he said it changed so much. His whole energetic changed. So it's always good to explore these things. Keep it in the back of your mind that you may get something out of it that you didn't realize. And it's because we store the tension, we store the resistance patterns in our muscles, our fascia, our so forth. I actually feel like it's kind of like neuromuscular, like the nervous system in conjunction with the muscular system that kind of encodes the hesitation and the resistance patterns and so forth. Psychological fear, hesitation, doubt. Yep. Thank you for your comment. Thank everyone for their comments, and I appreciate you. I go through these periodically, so feel free to ask questions. I don't get to everyone, but I do read almost all questions still. I can't answer them all, though. So thank you all very much for your support.